Hey guys, welcome back to the course. So in this lecture, what we're gonna do is we're gonna use the strategy that we covered in the last lecture, the reaching out to paying customers. And we're gonna talk about how exactly you find them. Then in the next lecture, we'll talk about how once you found them, how do you reach out to them. Now this is our first technique because it is laser focused. If someone out there has the problem you are trying to solve and your product obviously solves a problem, it's a very good chance they will buy your stuff. And there's not gonna be a whole lot of dependencies involved. They're not gonna ask you how many other people have bought it. They're not gonna have to say, well, I haven't seen a TV commercial for it. If they have that problem, they are always the most likely to purchase. Now, the first thing we wanna do is take that problem and imagine we are the customer that has it. Now, how exactly would that customer unwittingly verbalize that problem? How exactly would you mention you have this problem? How would you explain it? And in what scenarios would you bring it up? Try to get in the mind of your overly complainy older sister and try to channel their obsessive need to constantly notify everyone of things that bother them. To help you through it, let's cover a couple examples. All right, example number one. Let's imagine we are making an app, and this app, mobile app, is designed to help people stop forgetting where they put things, to help people stop losing things, essentially. Now, you yourself right now, try to imagine you're someone that constantly loses things. How exactly would you verbalize it? Now, first of all, we just need to kind of think it out, right? Now, if I lose things, well, everybody loses things. What are the most common things they would lose? Well, the most common things people lose, probably keys, credit cards, wallets, hair if you're older. Now, let's just take one of those. If I lost my keys, I would probably use the phrase, lost my keys. I would probably say things like, constantly losing my keys, can't stop losing my keys, anything along that vein. I would even probably ask the question of anything to help me stop losing my keys, anything to prevent losing my keys. The key point here, no pun intended, is that they will say losing keys. So those are the phrases we will hook onto, and if you couldn't find someone off that, you'd move on to the next item or the next type of complaint that someone would voice. All right, now a second example. Let's say we're making a web application and it helps people track their social media mentions. You know, like in Facebook, when someone mentions something and they say at your name, or on Twitter, they mention you, or Instagram, they do it as well. Now, if I had that problem, I might think of saying, can't manage my social media accounts. Too many followers, too many mentions, can't find list of mentions plus Twitter plus Facebook, something like that. If you can identify the problem, and we've done that before, and you can identify generally how someone would articulate it, then basically 100% of the time you will find someone who has said that. Now, the three places you should first start searching, you probably know, and I apologize because this is a very basic technique. The first one is Twitter. You've heard of that one. The second one is Reddit. You might have heard of it, maybe not. And the third one, everyone's heard of this one, Google. Now, the first one we start with, and our go-to, always number one we go to, is Twitter. Now, why exactly do we use Twitter first? Well, for one, they let all of their conversations be indexable. That is why I don't say Facebook. You cannot go and search and find a conversation some private user on Facebook had, whereas Twitter, it's kind of the point. It's all about being public and everyone seeing your stuff. Twitter also as a whole has a very large user base. It's something like 300 million, and it's really just a giant hub of conversations, and more specifically, a giant hub of complaints. Now, the first thing you do if you want to search on Twitter is just go to search.twitter.com. It'll link you to the actual URL that I can never seem to remember. It's like search home. And if you can't find that, just Google Twitter search. So what it ends up giving you is a big search bar that basically looks like anything you'd see on Google. Now, we don't need to get fancy with this one, right? We can just search for exactly the types of complaints we came up with previously. Just input those and then try to weed through the results and try to find people that are actually specifically talking about your problem. It is really that simple, but it's not terribly easy to weed through all the chatter to find ones that are talking about what you are talking about. But do your best, find some people, write them down, mark them so you can come back later and reach out to them. Now, the second place that we are going to comb through for potential complainers is Reddit. Now, have you ever heard of Reddit? It's reddit.com. It is basically a forum on steroids. You know how forums work, right? People post individual topics and then people talk about it, and there's main topics and specific topics. Well, Reddit's like that. Reddit is divided into what are called subreddits, and subreddits are basically just like miniature forums within a gigantic forum. Now, most people know Reddit for probably nefarious reasons or pranks that people play, but it is an enormous forum. Reddit has 231 million users, and they have something like 8 billion pages. They're one of the biggest pages on the internet, but more importantly, because they're structured in subreddits and Reddits, there are subreddits basically for everything out there. Horse breeding, scuba diving, people who are obsessed with one celebrity, people who have the first name Adam, pretty much anything you can think of, there is a subreddit directly or indirectly related to it. We are going to keep coming back to Reddit because it is just a goldmine of potential customers. So get cozy with this one. Now, how does one exactly search through this community to find the people that we want? Well, it's a trick question. You don't. You don't actually have to search or navigate through the community structure of Reddit. All you have to do is search for the complainers. Now, Reddit is like a lot of websites in that they have a search bar. You can see it when you log in or you just go to the front page. But that search bar does not work very well at all. Instead, we're gonna use a workaround because it's 10 times better and a lot faster. Actually, just go to Google. Go to Google. We're gonna use a very basic trick to search Reddit through Google's search engine. So what you do is you just go up to the search box. The first thing you type is site, S-I-T-E, Reddit.com. No spaces at all in that. What that means is we say site equals. What we're telling Google is that we don't want you to search the entire internet. We only want to search pages that come from the domain reddit.com. And then after you type site reddit.com, then actually put in your normal search criteria. So use your complainy search terms, get creative, and use that operator at the beginning of your Google search. And most likely you will find some stuff. Write them down, come back to them later. And then the last one is the most obvious, Google. I mean, Google, we're on it already, so it's very convenient. Just take those search criteria and just do a generic search for it. I mean, it's such the case that we cannot possibly search all active communities online for people who have our potential problem, but Google can. So try your best to search and pick out some people, regardless of what site or domain they're on, that you can reach out to. In the next lecture, we'll cover how exactly you tackle that wide variety of different domains and types of websites. All right, see you in the next lecture.